All right, we are back for another episode of Stream of Thought, episode number 82. And today we start off with a very pleasant topic. Just kidding. But it is something that's in the news and transitions into a lot of other things, which is unfortunately the shooting that happened at YouTube headquarters. And somehow we managed to transition
to family gatherings.
That's way later. We talk about we talk about plenty of other stuff before.
Family dynamics.
We talk about gullibility.
Oh, that's right.
We talk a little bit
jokes
about
and
gullibility and pranks. And we do talk about family as
family
well.
history, genealogy, tradition, a little bit
of family drama and what that looks like from yet another perspective.
Yeah.
You hear so many of these stories all the time, and this is another one of those.
It's a good one. Episode number 82, Stream of Thought. We hope you enjoy.
Dude,
I got my phone out of my pocket. I am well situated for 45 minutes to an hour of conversation.
so did you hear about this shooting at YouTube?
I did.
To start off on a light topic?
I did see that.
Holy shit.
Have
you heard the details about it?
I don't know any details other than the suspect is a woman.
Yeah. So like
and she hated YouTube.
Basically that's basically the story. Long story short. She said something to the extent of like YouTube ruined my life. Like 39-year-old woman who posted about veganism on a YouTube channel on YouTube that kept getting demonetized in the same issue that everyone else has been having, including the drywall doctor on YouTube, which how-to videos still getting demonetized. I mean, they get put it back up like 48 hours later, but still, it's like everyone's hit with this issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently she lost her cool and decided to take it out on.
Losing her cool is a bit of an understatement.
I figured I'd just sum up the whole thing. And
she definitely lost her cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
for sure.
I cannot believe that. Really, I mean, you think about it though. I'm kind of surprised that there.
What type of weapon did she use?
That is still not been released as of this time by the police. It'll come out at some point in time. But I mean, she didn't, as far as we're aware, she didn't kill anyone. But she shot lots and lots of bullets.
She just shot up the place
and then killed herself.
Okay.
So. Yeah, and she just went in because apparently that's how she thought that she would express her frustrations with the YouTube demonetization process.
Walking straight into headquarters.
And shooting up the
Do you know where she's from?
She's from like the San Bernardino area.
Okay, so she's from the area. Yeah, it's not like she traveled there from another part of the country.
But what's fascinating is that how immediately afterwards you had all these sort of fake news reports popping up on Twitter, on Facebook, on all the... There was one dude's Twitter account who worked at YouTube whose account was hacked, and he's like, can you help me find my friend? And they posted a picture of Keemstar. I don't know if you know who that is. He's like a YouTube personality, like a shock jock type Howard Stern figure.
Got it.
So anyway, I mean, like, but all over the place you had... these reports popping up, everyone wanting to know what's going on, and then people posting misinformation on the internet. And that got me thinking, like, we live in an age right now where there is no filter to information that, like, comes out.
Dude, I gotta show you something real crazy that I came across today. So there's like, it's an, I don't know, I don't think it's not an app, but this company developed this thing for voice where all you do is you just need to, like, I think it's like 30 seconds to a minute of somebody's voice. So you can get someone like from the radio or television or something, and you can say whatever you want and it will recreate that statement in their voice.
I've heard of this.
So you can totally create fake news. And what I saw, it said they had like a segment of President Obama saying something, making it look like he's actually saying it, and it's his voice, but it's not really. But I'll play it right now real quick because it kind of, you can tell you can, if you listen carefully, you can tell that it is a recreation, that it's not authentic, but the people who absorb fake news probably look past that, you know?
This night I am happy to share with you a small announcement about a cool startup called Lyrebird. They launched today their website where you can create a digital copy of your voice. They only need you to record 1 minute of audio. This is just...
So that's like, you can kind of tell it's a cross between Stephen Hawking and, Obama.
That they got the tone and inflection and everything like that. That they got the general sound.
But if
of the
that's
voice.
new, right? This is something that's new. Imagine like what it would be like in 5 years.
That's been out for like a year already. I mean, and the fact that you're hearing about it now means that it's becoming like in the mainstream. The mainstream is aware of it. Now it's interesting too because simultaneously, and you're probably going to hear about this more because I tend to for whatever reason, and I think it's probably because I am interested in sort of the shadow corners of the web.
Yeah.
Like what are the people on the fringes sort of working on or developing or talking about? And so something that has emerged from the fringes that I think is soon going to become an issue that I think everyone hears about is fake porn, fake celebrity porn.
No way.
And so there is digital technology right now that is able to fuse any face with any porn star's body and to make it look as though it is realistic. Like,
really?
The image isn't like 180p resolution.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like super high. It's not 4K high def resolution stuff where you're able to make out their freckles and stuff.
But within a few years, you can make it look
within a few years, you would imagine that this would become something that is indistinguishable from actual video. And so you have all of these. Who's your Charlize Theron?
Don't even say her fucking name in this. No, you leave her out of this.
Naked and doing it.
You leave her out of this. Leave her out of this.
Dirty couch. Oh yeah.
My in college, my buddy Zilly, we had like sweethearts that were running against each other for house sweetheart, and he took each of their pictures of their face and photoshopped it onto these 3 different porn stars who were obviously naked, and they're like touching themselves, and he put it in the bathroom, and then on the text it said like, who would you vote for, or like something crazy like that. That shit was so funny. I mean, of course the boyfriends of the people who were dating the potential sweethearts at the time didn't think it was too funny, but that's a total Zilly thing.
Wow. Yeah. So that's, I mean, the craziness of digital technology and being able to like fuse stuff like that is becoming more and more accessible to everyone. And so one of the interesting things that I had heard is like, if everything can be real, then nothing is real. I mean, really, when you get to a certain point where it becomes indistinguishable, truth and fiction become indistinguishable, then like you really do get to be in a choose your own reality type of environment. Now, like my response to this whole immediate like hoaxes and fake stuff that comes out is like, that's the reason why we have the media, right? They serve as a filter and a check on false information. And it's weird how we've gotten to this point right now where it's something outrageous.
Oh, you should pick it up and give him a quick and just tell him real quick. Never mind.
Oh, you're ready.
Hey, Brooks, you're on the podcast. That's all right.
I don't know what happened.
That would have been sweet to have a surprise. To have a surprise guest on the podcast. Rix was getting a phone call from one of his best friends in Minnesota. That would have been real funny.
Yes, not the time or place, because we've been having a text conversation throughout the day. So, so it would be an ongoing continuation of that.
Yeah.
But yes, so it is fascinating to think about, because really, I mean, like, people distrust the news media, and yet they go on Twitter and Facebook and are able to...
Maybe people will slowly make an effort to do their own research.
The only reason, though, why I bring that up as a critique is because I was thinking back to our last episode and how you were showing me your brand new iPhone 5.
Oh, yeah.
How wonderful it was. And you were going on about just how beautiful it looked and how well it worked and all the features it had.
It still looks great.
Like, yeah, no, totally. Like, that's a great new phone. Like, and then you're like, I'm just kidding. It's my old phone. I just took the screen cover off.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, shit, you could have kept going on talking about like how
Yeah.
this is a brand new phone and how everything in there, and I would have bought it the whole
Yeah.
way. I would have been like, oh, of course, Victor gets another 5.
Yeah.
Another 5 phone. It looks really nice, like it looks refurbished or whatever. But no, I totally buy it. And I was wondering, how gullible of a person are you? I'm a super gullible person, dude. I buy stuff hook, line, and sinker.
Really?
It is disgusting. It is disgusting how gullible I am. I'm just curious to see how you view your own gullibility.
I guess I've never really thought about that before.
Really?
Yeah. I guess it depends on who I'm
Because
talking
you're a
to.
prankster, you're a
Yeah,
practical
for
joker,
sure.
and so you like sort of the sleight of hand, like
Yeah.
make people think, surprise people, make
Yeah.
people think outside the box.
Yeah.
And I wonder how often you're able, because I've done it a couple of times where I've led you on for some deceptive reason, and you've bought it, but I don't know how often you find yourself in those positions of embarrassment, like, yeah, I guess I did.
I don't know. I'll have to keep an eye on that from now on.
It's interesting because like you're talking with people who you trust, and it's like, well, of course you're more inclined to believe what they have to say.
I will always be inclined to believe whatever you say. I don't
Yeah.
usually like question it.
Yeah.
If Rix is telling me this, it's most likely truth. Now, on the other hand, one of my other friends who sometimes will tell me something, I'll just kind of, I don't really know about that.
Yeah.
I'll have to do my own research. Or I feel like, you know what? You have a reputation for overselling things.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
I don't think so.
There's the individual assessment of a
Yeah.
person's character,
Yeah.
and you think to yourself, I mean, and you don't even think to yourself consciously. It's all subconscious.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I assess this information? I just categorize it. Whatever.
I guess it depends too on what they're talking about and if that's something that is always like an interest
And how
of theirs.
believable it is too, right? Because if
Yeah.
I'm coming to the podcast and talking to you about like how I walk down the street and this like tripped a person going down the road like by accident, that might be believable. But if I tell you a story about how I'm walking down the street and I smack an old lady,
But
with
are
a
you talking
cane-
about gullibility in terms of like if your intention is to try and like pull a prank or trick me somehow, or if your intention is to like mislead me intentionally for mal purposes? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I feel like there's a fun sport in it where there is it's an indication of your like creativity and intuitiveness, like
Yeah.
interpersonal skills. Like, how fine are you able to like walk that line between something that's sort of like, well, of course I believe you, like, why would I have any reason to doubt you? And this is so outrageous, there's no way I could believe you. There's something in the middle where it's like, wait just a second. As they're telling the story, you're like, wait just a second. I know that he was in California last week. He couldn't have been talking about a story. It's like, and so I feel like for those mischievous type of people who like to like play around with people,
Yeah,
the
I
best
keep
type of people are the ones who walk that fine line and just insert the unbelievable aspects or whatever it is. And
I've only come across a couple people who are as mischievous as I am.
you are very mischievous.
So, and I like, for example, when I was at the Park District, everyone there it was all jokes and pranks all the time. So I welcomed, pranks at my expense because I would enjoy them just as much as anybody else. So I wasn't necessarily like on the defense, like, but for example, at work, I like to scare people, and no one else tries to scare me. I've challenged people. There's this other girl, Jen, at a different store, and when I was working there for a few weeks, I was watching my back, and I was looking around the corner, and we were trying to get each other. So I knew there was like a game going on,
Yeah.
so I was a little more defensive.
Yeah.
But as far as I was thinking of some good pranks today, like just randomly, just like what are some good things that I can do to people. And one of them was do like a 1-2 punch where if I'm like picking someone up and I get like coffee on the way or something, and I really put like heat up tomato soup or something and put it in, because your brain it gets a bit of a mind fuck for a moment when you grab something and you're expecting a certain taste and it's something it's something else.
That would be wild.
Like,
I
right?
I couldn't imagine.
I mean,
what
yeah,
that would
you
be
can
like, but
consume
suddenly
tomato
it'd be
soup,
like,
but
yeah.
it'd be like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
you're thinking it's gonna be coffee, and
like,
then be like,
this
oh,
is
I'm
the
sorry.
weirdest coffee I've ever tasted,
and then
because-
be like, oh, I'm sorry. That was a joke. Here's some water you can rinse out your mouth, and then, but really give them water. That's
vodka.
That's vinegar. That's vinegar.
Oh my
but then
God,
I
are
was thinking, then
you
I was thinking,
fucking kidding
then I
me?
was thinking, if it's vinegar, it'd probably be a very potent smell. So you'd have to dilute it with some water, right? You know what I'm saying? And then after that, I was like, no, here's the real coffee, and then hit him again with something. So what I was thinking was, if you trick him with coffee, the tomato soup coffee, and then you have the second punch and a backup. So you give them the water that's part vinegar. And if they're like, yes, well, then you get them again unexpectedly. If they're like, no, it's okay, then you hand them the quote-unquote real coffee, and then it's something else.
All right, let's be honest.
And
if you had pulled that on me, what do you think my reaction would be to something like that?
You would be like, this is what you do. You'd grab it, oh, damn it, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Are you serious right now? This is not funny. This is not funny. And you'd probably spill some on yourself a little
I
bit.
feel like looking in a mirror.
But I thought about, I don't know what I was doing. I was in my meeting, I think. When I thought about this, I catch myself thinking about things, and then I take a step backwards. I'm like, how the fuck did I get to this idea that I had? And I backtrack, you know? But I'm always thinking in my head about random stuff. I think I was thinking about that when I was at my meeting today, which was so boring. Oh my goodness. The amount of time that is wasted at meetings blows my mind.
Tell me about it.
And this meeting was supposed to be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And a couple of people showed up late. We started the meeting on time. There were a couple of people late, and then the DM is like, "Hey, is anyone okay if like we stay here just till like 12:30 instead of 12?" I'm just like, that's 25% past the time. Or no, that's a little bit less than that. It's 2 hours. That's a fair amount of time to be past a meeting. I was there until 12:45. So 45 minutes past the scheduled time. And for some reason, like, I try and do the minimum in terms of I let people know that I'm listening, but I don't feel like I need to give my 2 cents on every matter, because that's what adds up all the time.
Extends any meeting.
And a lot of the time, I feel like people are talking just so other people can hear them talking. It's just blah, 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 blah. We spent 30 to 40 minutes on something on the agenda that said we should only spend 15 minutes on.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was getting paid for it, so I didn't care. But at the same time, it was my day off because it was going to be yesterday, and I go to the store that it was going to be at, and it was the wrong day. Anyway, whatever. Not that big of a deal, but meetings can be pretty boring.
I
was trying really hard to keep myself from doodling and coloring in all the letter O, the D's, the P's,
the purpose of the
coloring
meeting? Like,
around the staple.
Yeah, what was the end point of the, like, what were the main points they wanted to convey for the meeting? What were, like, the main takeaway points?
Dude, I'll be honest, I don't remember.
Oh, my God. See, and, I wonder if part of that has to just do with, like, a lack of education when it comes to how to effectively run meetings. But, bro, in my experience, in nonprofit, nonetheless, like, I had good mentors, but they knew how to run a meeting. There was no time wasted. If you wanted to get stuff done, you would talk to the people ahead of the meeting who had any sort of conflicts or who you thought would have something to say, work out whatever it is ahead of them, and then set aside the minimal time, maybe a half an hour, for even an important topic, because all the details are ironed out, and it's just a matter of everyone else hearing what's going on. And that gives the opportunity that if there are crucial things that need to be caught, like major like points of intersection that need to be communicated, that's the time when communication happens. Details, like working out details, if people are using meetings to work out details, then they're not using meetings effectively.
Yeah.
And the fact that I feel like in so many individual instances, hearing your experience with meetings and even my experiences with various meetings, they're just not efficient. And it's like, I understand the like desire to socialize with people, and I feel like that's a good part of why people want to have meetings. It's like, ooh, a chance to hang out with people, like chance to talk. And so that sort of extends it. But I mean, if you sort of just lay the parameters down ahead of time and make it known that, yeah, we're going to keep this certain time, if you have to, have somebody who has a watch and just keeps track of it. But, like, do the homework ahead of time. And that's half the battle of any meeting, is making sure that you talk to everyone ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah, the purpose was it was pretty much sharing management techniques and a couple things related to this little handheld device we use to do inventory.
Yeah.
That was about it. This meeting could have been condensed to 45 minutes.
Yeah. See, there you go.
Because everything about the technical thing I could have learned from either my store manager or just other managers that know how to use it.
Yeah.
And the feedback on different management stuff, like just like, hey, I do this, what do you do? Oh, I do this. Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I can apply that. I mean, I'll maybe take away 2 things that I think are a good idea, but there's no need. The amount of time spent on a particular topic far outweighed the cost of that time, far outweighed the benefit. And
Yeah.
It was no importance.
It is unfortunate.
But we did write off some food and drink, and I was the one that got to pick it. So I grabbed some donuts, some chocolate chip muffins, orange juice, chocolate milk, and I let someone else pick out something. So
I'm sorry, I didn't
I
catch
got
what time
some
of day
food.
this was.
This was from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m.
12 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 10 a.m.
Yeah. And I'll get to write up miles that I drove because there's another store. So probably get like $10 just for driving.
There you go, man. Making those positives.
Yeah, but guess what? Today I'll have to check the odometer, but I think I've driven like 80 miles today.
What?
So I went to the gym. I filled up gas afterwards.
Can we just like frame that in the course of like your whole driving experience? You've had in the past 10 years a total in what? Or no, I'm sorry, 8 years.
In the 8 years that I've had my car, almost 8 years, I've averaged about 10,000 miles.
10,000 miles a year for the past 8 years or so. And so I feel like 80 miles in one day.
Today was abnormal.
Pretty high.
Today was abnormal because I went from my house to Lyle, back, downtown Chicago for an audition, back, go out, and I'm right over here, go to your place, go back over here.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Did you have some good podcasts to listen to?
No, I was listening to the fucking radio, which sucks. I should have listened to a podcast, but I decided to give the radio a shot, and that sucked because there's only about what's played on the radio, there's only about 10 to 15% of what's actually good entertainment, whether it's music or a talk show. Everything else just sucks.
Yeah. Wow, that is a lot.
I did listen to I do enjoy listening to on like Kiss FM or sometimes B96, where they have someone that calls the radio station. They're like, "Hey, I went on this date with someone. It went really well. I don't know what's going on. Can you please, try and call this person?" So they call the other person, try and figure out what went wrong. Like, "Hey, this was brought to our attention. Like, you went on a date with John, and he said it really well. Like, can you tell us what happened?" "Well, it did go really well," and yada, yada, yada. And this guy went on a date with this girl twice, and on the second date, he said something like, "Yeah, your personality is so great that I am looking past your bad looks," or that's pretty much what he said.
Oh, God.
He didn't say bad looks per se, but that's pretty much what he said. And the DJs are like, "What? Frank, are you serious? You left out a very big detail." That's what we called this person. It's interesting the way it goes to hear the story unfold.
Yes.
It's pretty funny.
There's always some key details.
Yeah,
I feel like that very.
Another one, this girl was like, "He smelled. His whole place just smelled." And then they figured out, I was like, "Oh no!" Like the day before, I was like cooking this Polish dish that stinks up the whole house, but I didn't realize it because I'm cooking in my house. "I'm sorry." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I have heard of that. Like, will you go on a second date with this guy?" "Yes, I will. We'll pay for it." "Okay." And so sometimes it's resolved, but it's very entertaining to hear the little details that each person leaves out.
Communication therapy right there.
Yeah. It was pretty good. So what have you been up to the last 3 days, 4 days?
Oh my goodness, man. Just Easter, Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
All that. I have to say, my friend.
Easter only?
Easter, yeah, Thanksgiving. No, I was looking at my notes. I'm like, yeah. I was debating whether or not I wanted to bring up my Easter dinner experience.
Yeah, bring it up. Let me hear about it.
I don't know, man.
Is it funny?
It's not. No, I mean,
What happened?
You'll find everything entertaining.
What happened?
I mean, it's there's nothing bad happened. But it was one of those things where. Those little details. It's like, what little details do I include in this story? So, it's a pretty. We normally have a pretty small gathering. It's my family, which is my brother, my sister, myself, my parents.
5 people in your immediate family.
5 people in my immediate family, and there's 4 people on my mom's side. Her brother and then wife and 2 kids.
Okay.
Now the 2 kids were out of town. One's in college and the other is living in Texas right now.
Okay.
So it was just the 2 of them, and then
Aunt Sue?
Aunt Sue. Yeah, yep, Aunt Sue. And so yeah, man, it's one of those things where heading into like when it comes to family gatherings, you sort of prepare yourself in certain respects. And I always prepare myself in the sense that, like, I know that my uncle and aunt are pretty socially conservative individuals. My uncle listens to Rush Limbaugh on a daily basis. Like,
Okay.
That's his bread and butter. And so they obviously have a certain
Live in a different world.
worldview. They have a particular worldview, which is their own, right? Like, it's a free country. You can live however you like. But I know, like,
I just gotta stop you because I love how you're just eloquently attempting to paint a different picture than what you've previously
Listen,
done
man,
with different people.
the beauty
or
of
different
language,
groups people.
and the beauty of having a larger vocabulary is that you are able to more precisely convey what is going on, and I use precisely 2 times.
I love that you're just like, I love
words,
that you're,
but that's fine.
I love that you're just like, okay,
I'm
it doesn't
use as
matter.
many big words as I can right now.
It doesn't matter who we're
I
talking
prove my
about. Listen,
point.
it doesn't matter who we're talking about. On one podcast, they're entitled to their worldview. They are socially conservative. Yeah. And then another, these fucking idiots, all they do is listen to Fox News. And they don't make any effort to see the other side or to see what it is that they're consuming is actual verified data. So I love how right now I'm experiencing 2 polar opposites of what sounds to be like the same thing.
Listen, my friend.
So continue.
I will respond to you in the verse of Proverbs to say, to every season there is a time. To every time there is a season. And so in a particular season, perhaps, I may be a little more vocal and
Forgiving.
unrestrained. Let's say unrestrained in my perspective on certain ideologies. Okay. But when it comes to like something like a family gathering, I'm not going to be confrontational.
Right.
And I'm going to try, like, they're family.
Right.
I'm going to love them.
I got
like
you.
Every time there's a season, and these are people.
Family versus people on the internet. Okay.
People on the internet,
Got
even
it.
like jackasses on the street.
Yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
Like, there's a difference. I mean, I think that, but ultimately, I do want to add the caveat.
Keep
I
going,
do want to
keep
add the
going.
caveat that yes, I do try to understand perspectives that are different than mine. I may disagree with it, and in full transparency, I will say yes. I believe that their beliefs are asinine. Like, if it makes you happy to hear that, I will articulate that right now.
It doesn't make me happy, but I am happy that you are acknowledging this.
Ego defending itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So yes. So anyway, you go into family gatherings, especially with those who have different political ideologies, with a certain like guard up, and you're not going to talk about this. You're going to talk about things that bring you together. Family,
Yeah.
friends,
You're going to
like
tread
that.
lightly to avoid
conflict. Exactly. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's my standard default. I've never had any sort of conflict. Like, my uncle is very active member in his church, and it's kind of like his Christianity means a lot to him. And so, like, for him, I know he has a very different form of Christianity. Like, he's very anti-gay. Like, he's very anti, a lot of things that I don't necessarily believe in, but we believe in sort of the ethos of Christian love. And so we can talk about, he helps with the boys club of his church, which is a great thing. And it gives him a lot of, like, satisfaction and joy and really positive experiences. So that's something we can talk about. Now, what I didn't necessarily prepare myself for, and for whatever reason, I don't know why. So my Aunt Sue, and this has been a problem in the past, is that I've told you about good old Aunt Sue, haven't I?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recall?
I was about to say, yes, I recall hearing about Aunt Sue, but I don't remember the details. I think it's someone who's a close family friend, but not necessarily an aunt by blood.
She is the liberal Twitter comment that you see on the internet.
Okay.
That's probably the best way that I can describe her.
So we've got Aunt Sue and your uncle in the same room.
Oh yeah, it's been quite a. Yeah, and then if my dad ever decides to like throw a couple grenades in there, too, that always
does
like
he do that really?
He likes to. Yeah. Every once in a while, he'll like to stir things up. So he'll throw a couple of grenades in there and just see what happens. In the past,
that
this
is
isn't
so
recently,
funny.
but we've had some fun.
Yeah.
We've had some stories. So yes, needless to say, we've always had these sort of interesting experiences, but it's always been sort of like this liberal versus conservative kind of thing. And here I am, as somebody who, I'm assuming that I'm of the same political persuasion as my aunt, not fully embracing the fact that she is just like, she's a living Twitter comment. She's like, and she means well and all that, but she starts talking something at dinner, and it was so innocuous, and I actually wanted to write this down because my train of thought, I felt like at the time, like in the immediate afterwards, my mom, oh my goodness, my mom was like, "You did a horrible thing. Like, how dare you?" Like,
to your aunt.
The fact that I got a little like intense with my debate because
so you got involved too.
Oh yeah, I got sucked in like a whirlpool, man.
Does it ever happen where I don't recall I can't remember what it is called, but in wrestling, what they do is they just have sometimes just have a giant brawl in the middle of the ring, and it's just like every man for himself almost. And sometimes like people just get tossed out and then they're out. So
think of like Dragon Ball Z, where like I go down in the middle of the ring and I'm like, poof, everyone else goes away except for my opponent. And it's just
got it.
It's like everyone else is like, holy shit, what just happened?
Okay.
Like, we did not expect
laying
that.
down the
like
hammer,
everyone's just like, we're backing off this.
Right.
Because me as a political science junkie and somebody who like this is their life and passion, can get a little intense at times, as I'm sure our listeners have heard.
So tell me what happened.
So here's the thing. Like, imagine it this way. You and I are having a conversation. We're talking about, let's say, Mexican heritage. And we're talking about, like, how great Mexican heritage is. I'm just like, yeah, like, the Mexicans, they're hard workers. I mean, they may smell, but they have a really good like ethic about their world. Like, right? Like, we can all agree that they're really hard working and all that, right? And well, your response would probably be like, wait, go back, rewind a little bit, and you'd be like, that second thing that you said, like, there's a little something. Wait, where did that come from? Like, what? Like, there's that moment of like, wait just a second. We're agreeing, we're having a conversation, we're going back and forth.
This is like I started watching The Office on Netflix, and it's like the second or third episode, like diversity appreciation, and Michael says to Oscar like. He's like, oh, yeah, my parents are Mexican. I was born here in the United States. And Michael Scott's like, yeah, that's great. Oscar, is there another word other than that's not so offensive as Mexican? He's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, what? No, what do you mean? Mexican, you can say it. And then Michael's he's just like,
yeah.
Like, he's being good. Like, he's good-hearted, but... like completely ignorant.
Yeah, and but without realizing it. And then just sort of going on like that. And, at first, at the dinner conversation, it was like, well, It's like my initial reaction was just like, wait just a second.
So
Like,
give me a play-by-play.
I can't remember specifically what the first conversation was regarding, because it was something that, whatever it was, the main thing, because I wasn't like I was having conversations with everyone, like I was going back and forth. It was a family conversation, back and forth, and then this thing sort of like stops me on tracks. I'm like, wait just a second, what? And so I wanted to like clarify, because it's like,
was someone saying something to you, or you overheard something?
No. We were having a conversation. We were going back and forth, like just to like talking about something that I assumed that we both agreed on, right? Fundamentally, and it wasn't even something super political. It wasn't like elections or anything like that. But it was something that, if you are a conservative, you would have a particular perspective. If you were a liberal, you would have a particular perspective. If you didn't really care about politics, you wouldn't really know what was going on. Like one of those things where it's like, if you have a persuasion, then you have a opinion on the topic, one form or another. And so for me, it's like I was sort of the false assumption that we were in the middle lane of just like just a conversation of like she's on the liberal side, but it's something that's sort of common, like something that everyone knows about, and something that everyone can probably agree could be improved. Like could have been the post office or something.
I gotta tell you, I'm dying to know what the spark was. I've got to know. I really want to know. It's too bad I don't know what it is.
Well, with the
immigration,
the thing where it really kind of like spiraled a little, not necessarily spiraled out of control. Well, yeah, I had to leave the room. Was later. The dinner it was momentary. And so that passed. And foolish me.
Now we're approaching the climax.
I do not learn. I'm not a very good learner when it comes to making mistakes. And so afterwards, everyone's done with dinner. Everyone's sitting around the conversation. Sitting around the room having conversation.
Was there noticeable tension that arose in the air?
Well, here's what happened, is that, again, everyone's having different conversations.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm being very patient. I want to know, did the gloves come off?
Let me tell you, listening to your conversations and your stories that drag on forever, you will at least afford me a little bit of... procrastination to getting to my main point.
All right.
Don't even start with me.
I'm just gonna listen. I'll listen.
All right. To make the long story short, basically, it had to do with, she said something to the extent of, when we were talking, it had to do with the American economy and how the American economy was just going down the drain, and that if you just looked to Germany and followed their economy, then we would be much better. And my response was something along the lines of, well, capitalism and the Democratic Socialist Party are like, socialism and capitalism operate in two different ways. Like Germany operates under a structure of more socialism than capitalism, where the state and corporations work together, as opposed to capitalism, where the state and the government don't work together. They fight each other. Because that's what, like, it's just fundamentally different. And so anybody who has any understanding of like fundamental government, especially if you're gonna fucking throw out Germany in a conversation, you might as well know that they're run by the Democratic Socialist Party. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, and so my response in my head is like, wait just a second. I mean, like, you know that like Democratic Socialist Party is different than like the way that our government runs. And she's like, well, no, like, but then she gets hostile, and she's just like, well, no, I don't know that. And then she's like, well, can you cite an article stating about how Germany hasn't done something in the past 10 years? And I'm like, I'm sorry, like, what? We were just talking, like, we literally were talking about something totally different. And just, like, as soon as I interjected that correction, we just totally took a deviation into, like, an accelerated, like, confrontation. And here I'm just like, whoa, like...
Dude, did you listen to the podcast? Like did you listen to ID10T with Ed Helms?
No, I didn't.
Recently? They talk about this, like people listening and making arguments and then getting super defensive. So you got to listen to that. But continue.
And it just takes this 45-degree angle where I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? Yeah. I mean, what? All I wanted to point out was that like the distinction that you were trying to make, the analogy that you were trying to make between Germany and America and their economies, like just.
It's like I don't understand
like,
why VHS can't be as high a quality as DVD. Like, why don't they just be high quality like DVD? Well, they're like completely two different operating systems.
That is exactly for somebody who has totally an unrelated topic. Yeah, exactly. Or
maybe DVD and Blu-ray or something.
Why doesn't everyone why don't more people like skunks? I mean, I know they smell and everything occasionally, but they're
wait,
fine.
What? Yeah, I get you're trying to make a connection with things that can't be connected.
Or to say it's just it's not it just does not compute, kind of
trying to plug a firewall cable into a USB port or something like that.
Yeah, well, okay, so you know how I've talked about how Ray had those moments of reboot, total
boop,
shutdown,
boop, boop,
blue screen of death,
system overload. Yeah.
And I feel as though I'm
in Windows 98 or something when the box was just fucking populate 1,000 different things at the same time.
Horrifying
you remember
experience.
That?
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
I just fucked up big time.
Oh boy! Quick! Yeah. Shut it down! Try to reboot it. See if everything's gonna be okay. It's all gonna be okay.
Yeah. So when you try and move the window over and it has its shadow, and you move it around and it's just all over the place.
Yeah. Old school. But I mean, I feel like I'm kind of the person who's not going to get into that mode of I just don't understand what it is you are saying. But we're having this conversation about a topic that I'm very familiar with, and then suddenly she's just well, this alternative reality is something that I'm going to stand my ground on, and I'm just wait, what? We're on in my instinctual reaction is well, liberals tend to be a little more educated and tend to be more inquisitive. Whether or not that's true, I don't have enough evidence personally to say one way or another, but that's my stereotype.
Yes.
That's my own personal burden to overcome. But naturally, my inclination is, if I'm talking to somebody who has a generally progressive worldview, I tend to find that they are more open to corrections or clarifications to their positions. And so for me, my conversations with somebody like Brooks or Victor in Minnesota is going to be one of, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that blank spot, or I got this fact slightly wrong. I'll reassess my position. That is the general response that I tend to get. And this, it was I'm talking to a liberal, and she's nope, I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm going to fight you. And I'm going to totally cognitive dissonance. I'm going to change the conversation because I need to be right. This is something I need to be right about. And it doesn't matter what someone going to sort of throw into the mix, but I'm going to need to be right. And if you don't prove that you're right, I'm going to be right. And it was just very weird to engage in that sort of messy interaction.
You were thrown off.
And I really was. I did not.
Wait, you're liberal. Liberals don't behave like this.
Well, no, I mean, it wasn't a moment of revelation. I'm fully aware that fucking liberals are just as stupid as conservatives in many instances, which is fine. But my again, add a couple of glasses of wine into the mix. You lower your defenses, and you
a couple of glasses of wine.
You misjudge your assumptions.
So, did you lay down the law? Did you you said you had to walk away.
Oh yeah, I was sent out of the room.
Voluntary. So your mom made you leave?
Did your mom made you leave? I'm gonna leave it at that. I was sent out of the room.
Oh, that's funny.
Now, to be perfectly honest, I thought that now the way that I engage with people, right, the way that you and I banter back and forth, and there have been some instances where I pushed back on you and been particularly aggressive when it comes back to, and if you were not friends with me, I'm sure that would come off as slightly hostile, right?
Yeah,
I can be a little aggressive at times, and that is a character flaw that I will continue to work at, and being around you has certainly helped. But again, that's my default, that's my modus operandi, and I feel like most of the people who know me and most of my friends, most of my family understand that that's just simply the way that I am. Yeah. I mean, I can get a little intense at times because I have
there's passion behind the argument.
There's passion behind the argument, and Thank you for putting it generously.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that it was one of those things where I was finding no malice or ill will in the conversation itself, but I felt like there perhaps may have been an elevated level of anxiety in everybody
Okay.
else. It's because everyone else sort of just stopped talking. And we're just watching the back and forth. And we're just like, socialism is not capitalism. Like, do you fundamentally understand that there is a difference between these two types of governments? Because you can't be making that analogy if, like, you fundamentally understand. It's like, no, well, you're smarter than me, so you tell me this, that, and the other thing. It's
Yeah.
like, fucking A, we're not talking about that. We're
Yeah.
talking about this analogy, which was
So
not that
all of a
big,
sudden-
which was not that big of a deal
Before you
until
realize
you
it-
fucking made it this whole goddamn
All of a
argument.
sudden,
So,
before you realize it, you're bringing it up to like, you go from
level
like
12.
Okay,
Oh my god.
you're going up, past the meter, and then you kind of stop and you realize, why is everybody looking at me right now? Rix,
Well-
please leave the room.
Kind of. Well, because I can get really excited and really like engaged in topics.
The
and
level gets
if-
turned up incrementally, so when you get to that high level, you don't realize how high it actually is.
Okay, part of it, yes. But part of it, too, is because it starts off as excitement. Like, I never go into something, like, ready to, like, rage against
Okay.
someone. But say you and I are having, like, a really intense, like, really awesome conversation,
Yeah.
and then suddenly it takes, like, a 90-degree turn, and you become very hostile. Well, that energy level for me is still up there,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly I just hit this wall of resistance, and where does that, like, positive energy turn? It back on myself, and I feel like, I'm punched in the face emotionally. So, anyway, that's sort of like a brief psychoanalysis of my Easter weekend. And I seriously had in my phone a text that I did not send. I was going to say fucking family, and I didn't say that because I was like, do I really want to say that to you?
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to, like, make this a bigger thing than it was? No, it's not. I moved on. Like, it was the morning after, right?
Yeah.
The wine had processed through me.
My
My emotions had subsided.
I had 3 aunts come over last week. It was a couple days before Easter, though, because it was my mom's birthday. And they came over, and they were at the house just for like a couple hours before they all went downtown with my mom. But it was a much more amicable experience for me.
I'm glad to hear. A peaceful Easter.
Yeah,
a peaceful resurrection.
Politics.
Of Christ.
I mean, I think people talk about politics just a little bit, but everyone was on the same page, more along the lines of like, did you hear what President Trump said this week? Yeah, wow, really? Can't believe that. Like, there wasn't really any
It was
intense conversations of one thing or
superficial.
another.
It was meaningful.
It was just in politics. The topic of
Now,
politics was in passing.
I do have a question. Is how diverse is your family? Are your aunts, are they Mexican or are they
My aunts, no, they're all from my
your
mom's side.
Okay. So they're all
white.
They're all they're all super white. Like, are they like Western European white, Eastern European white, like
Western European.
Western? Yes, okay.
So they all, I think, well, actually,
You're 50% Mexican.
one of
and
my
50%.
aunts, actually two of my aunts are also fluent in Spanish that they learned in high school. My aunt that had passed away several years ago, I think, was fluent in German. I think the other aunt that was at my house might know some German, but my other aunt that also knows Spanish also knows Italian. And my
Holy crap.
one aunt, I'm going all over the board.
Yeah,
with the
no.
aunts.
we're-
Okay,
we're-
so of the
we
3
need
aunts
a
that visited,
genealogy map to, like,
of the
put on
three
top.
of the 3 aunts that visited,
Yes.
one of them is fluent in Spanish and Italian and loves going to Italy, and is very open-minded and just loves people and just, and the other aunt number 2, also speaks Spanish and had married someone who
You said the first one spoke Italian.
Spanish and Italian.
Oh, Spanish and
The
Italian.
second aunt speaks Spanish and was married to somebody who was Mexican for I don't even know how long, several years. And the third aunt, I am uncertain. I don't know if she knows another language or not. I don't think she
Well,
does, but like just
But
married.
they're all, like, super white. They're like your white ants. Or are they, I don't know.
What are you talking about? Like white in color or white in like cold? They're hip, like they're cool. They're not like this white guy that's
I think they're like the
lame.
the
yeah,
high pants and the
Yeah.
the
but they're all super progressive
yeah.
people.
Okay. And do you only see them like once a year or whatever? Or
I
don't know how
I saw them all the time when I was
fast your
getting. Now
family
I
is.
think this is the first time I've seen them in like maybe 2 or 3 years.
Oh wow,
Because
really?
I think I only saw them when my grandma passed away.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw them or maybe it was Neil. We were like leaving my house one time to go do something.
Yes,
those
I
ones.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, there
Yeah.
were 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those 3. Yeah.
Holy cow, that was when your grandma passed.
Yeah.
I remember that.
3 or 4 years ago.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yep.
I can't believe that was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But anyway, yeah, so you're, this was something that
I noticed this too. There's more crumbs. Where did these come
this
from?
was I have not.
Does
been
your
here.
mom maybe
I
eat
have
lunch in
not-
here?
No, she doesn't eat
Oh.
lunch in here.
I don't know.
I have no idea what this is
Where are
from.
these crumbs
yeah,
coming from again?
the crumb, the reappearing crumbs. Yeah, because I haven't been in here since we recorded last.
Yeah.
So
The reappearing, something falling from the ceiling. I don't know.
magical. Well, where are we at right now?
I don't know.
I can't see.
Like 45. No, just under 50.
Just under 50.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Or did you want to finish up something that we were talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was along those lines, and it was one of those side things that has just been on kind of the back of my mind, which had to do with we've talked about this kind of in periphery, and I wasn't sure if there was anything more to add to this, but the fact that you are 50% Mexican, and if there is, in the spirit of like Easter / family holidays, if there's any particular family traditions that you adhere to from your Mexican side, or if there's anything culturally significant that you find reoccurring in your life that's like the Mexican cultural part of it.
So I'll first say that I do want to get a genealogy report done because you know when people are like, oh, I'm 50% this, 25% this, 10% that. You don't know. That's complete fabrication. You do not know the exact.
It's what your family told you.
Yes,
basically.
But part of the blood is Peruvian because we didn't know. My dad didn't know about several half siblings that he had until 2009. He has like 1, 2, 3, maybe 6 to 8 half siblings that he had no idea about. All of them knew about him, but he had no idea about them until 2009. Let me come back. I'll come back to that.
Yeah,
Remind me to come
I'm
back
fascinated. Yeah, please.
So we'll go back to the percentages. As far as holidays or traditions observed in the household, no. Sometimes we would get a bonus gift on the on Three Kings Day, which is like January 6th. So in Mexico, they celebrate January 6th when the Three Kings came to visit as opposed to December 25th. And so sometimes you get like a bonus gift, just like one small gift. And we did, for like 6 or 7 years, we did a Cinco de Mayo party. But that's not...
isn't that more of an Americanized
It's
holiday?
super Americanized, yeah. So it's not something that's... It's not like a national holiday in Mexico.
But you did that as a family thing? Or you did
We had
that
a
as
party, block party, yeah.
Oh, your family hosted
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, for like 6 or 7. So like that was
okay.
That was when the Mexican army defeated
Yeah.
the French.
Yeah.
Defeated Napoleon. So to put things in perspective, that would be like...
Independence Day.
But it's not. It's Independence Day is in September. It's like September 18th.
Oh, okay.
But that would be like people in Mexico celebrating like the Alamo or something. Like it, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Or something
Yeah,
weird like that.
yeah.
It's like a famous battle. It's recognized, but I mean, actually, Americans didn't win the Alamo, so it doesn't matter. But it's a battle. It's a famous battle that's recognized, but it's not like this celebrated thing.
Okay.
So yes, it is more American. So I got the traditions. We'll come back to the genealogy, and then was there another thing? I think.
Well, if there was any other traditions that come from your Mexican ancestry that like any sort of like prayers that you learned.
No.
Was there any sort of
heirlooms?
Nope. Wow. Because I mean, well, yeah, it is interesting because I don't know if anyone would ever confuse
because I did that stuff in school. Like I did when we have to pick a topic to research or something. I would do sometimes. the Aztec Empire, and I kind of like already learned about that stuff, but nothing that like we set aside special time to like do.
Yeah. Okay. Because I mean, for the life of me, if I was just some random racist, I would never guess that you were like 50% Mexican.
Yeah.
You're very like it's just, and I think part of it has to do that you never really grew up with any sort of cultural, whatever, integrated into your life. Because I feel like a lot of instances where you have those cultural barriers.
Yeah.
Like,
It wasn't like a super I mean, we go to Mexico every year, but it wasn't like my dad brought those traditions with him when he moved here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I have
That's
someone I used there's someone that I used to work with.
So he chose to like totally assimilate with the culture then.
Yeah.
Totally assimilate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I have someone I used to work with who is they're from some, I can't remember where, but some Eastern European country. They totally celebrate Easter on a different day. They totally celebrate Christmas on a different
like Eastern Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox calendar.
Oh my, yeah, that's intense.
So they do that. But yeah, going back to the genealogy thing.
Yeah,
this was in 2009, and my dad. So it was my biological grandfather and my grandmother had my dad. He was the first one. Then my biological grandfather remarried and had, I don't know, 3 or 4 kids. So he has half siblings. Then he remarried again and had like 3 or 4 kids. I can't remember what the order is. And so those half siblings knew of each other.
Because they came afterwards, and so as they were like the mothers or whatever would tell them
this
there's
is in
a child
Peru
before
because
you.
also then my grandmother had moved from Peru to Mexico. So when they moved, after they moved, he remarried and then remarried again.
So was she from Peru or was she Mexican?
No, she was from Mexico.
Okay, but they were living in Peru.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So he didn't know about that until like 2009, I think.
Oh my goodness. Till 2009.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
You want to know how they get? This is gonna blow your mind.
Yeah.
Guess how we found out about
How?
this? On the internet.
No.
Yes.
No. Are you freaking kidding me?
I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what it was. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think he like came across something that was like looking for this person roughly about this age, like some very vague information, and I think my dad was like, this kind of sounds like me a little bit. I don't know what the details were. Like, it could have been 3 pieces of information, super obscure, where he was like, no, those are pretty obscure pieces of information. Like, I fit that description or whatever. And then I think they had made contact, and then he went to visit, and sure enough, there's, like, duplicate photos in, like, these people's homes from, or photos that of his biological father that he recognized, like, this is my biological father. I have a duplicate or 2 of this photo, maybe where it's, like, the dad by himself. But then also in photos with like the family, and he's like, "Nope, this is yep, that's my dad in those photos right there."
What was his response?
I don't know actually. I was in college, so it's not like I.
Oh yeah,
So I just get a phone call one time.
Wow.
And then after he had visited, you could tell it was like. It was like he found a piece that he didn't know he was looking for.
Wow.
Like it was a very positive experience.
That's incredible. Wow, what a great way to end episode number 82.
For sure. So until next time. No, what?
Hey,
Did you want to add one more thing?
Search hard enough and you'll find what you're looking for.